Hey friends! So today I'm back with a layout. I'm going to be using the Chloe collection by Blvd. I'm also going to be using a tiny bit of the Cooper collection, which is the dog collection. I'm also going to be using this free die cut from Paper Issues. It is called Wonky Pie Chart. And let me tell you, it is so easy to make a stunning layout when you use these cut files. I'm also going to be using Distress Oxide in Broken China. I'm leaving my cut file on the mat and just watering down my ink there. And then I'm going to go ahead and just splatter that all over. And this just adds a little bit of color to the background. And I went ahead and dried that off camera. I'm using this picture of my cat, Mr. Rona. Yes, his name is Mr. Rona. He is named after the coronavirus because that's when he came to live with us. I'm just going ahead and selecting some papers from the collections. And basically I just left the cutouts on my cutting mat and I'm just pulling them off as I need them. I'm using a black pen to go around it, and then I'm just going to carefully cut out each of those little wedges and then glue them into place. So as I'm doing that, I'll tell you about Mr. Rona. So Mr. Rona arrived on our doorstep around March 13th. And he definitely looked a little ragged. He wouldn't come to us, but he certainly let us feed him. And I joked with my Facebook friends that one day he shall be mine. And I even named him at that point. So he has actually had his name since before he officially became ours. So the weeks progressed. He got a little bit more comfortable with us. We would go out there and pet him. He wouldn't let us pick him up though. About a month into this whole thing, I noticed that he had a wound on his neck. So again, still trying to capture him. He won't let us capture him. We've tried everything. We've used crates and traps and all of these things. He was not interested in being captured. So the wound continued to get bigger and bigger, and we were starting to get really worried about him. So at the advice of several friends, we increased his caloric intake. So we fed him 2 cans of food a day, plus dry food, plenty of water. Again, just trying to get him to get comfortable with us. He would come when we would call him, but he just wouldn't come inside the house. So all the while, I'm trying to take pictures as best I can of his wound so that I can keep track of the injury and, basically just monitor it. So fast forward, it's now end of May, and his wound looks horrible, and he shows up with a giant limp. So at this point, he was pretty comfortable with us. So my daughter was able to actually just go outside and pick him up, and we were able to get him into the vet. So the vet took a look at him and was like, we need to treat this wound, and we also need to x-ray his legs. So the x-rays showed that he had a broken leg, but it had already started to heal. So we put him on some antibiotics, gave him all of his shots, scanned him to make sure he didn't belong to anybody else, and that's the day he officially became ours. His vet bills were considerable, and my friends were so generous because they had been following his story all along, and they donated enough money to cover the entire cost of his vet care. We tried to put him in a cast, and that lasted for about an hour and a half. We had him in a small crate, and he basically was like an alligator and did like an alligator roll in the cage to the point where he completely banged off his cast. So after speaking to the vet, we determined that it was probably best to not keep him crated nor keep him in the cast because he was just not going to tolerate it. So fortunately, his leg had already started to heal. So the cast would have just been helpful, but it wasn't completely necessary. So he will have to be forever an indoor cat at this point. When he plays too hard, he does walk with a limp. He is super playful. He plays all night long. He is truly the sweetest boy. And I can't imagine life without him. And he's actually growling right now. I don't know if you guys can hear that. He is growling at the birds in the backyard. Kind of funny. So anyway, that is the story of Mr. Rona and how he came to live with us. And we absolutely, absolutely adore him. So yeah, that's his deal. Our other cats do not get along with him. They're starting to get a little bit better. All he wants to do is play, and no one is really interested in playing with him. It's kind of funny. One thing that you'll notice when I flip this over is that I tried to alternate very busy patterns with more of the subtle patterns. So hopefully that helps you out. But like I said, you can use these cut files to take scraps of paper to really just have a lot of fun combining a lot of prints and make it look really, really nice. I have the habit of buying papers and then not wanting to cut into them, and so this forced me to actually use some of my papers. And I use those bones because, again, he has that broken bone, so that's exactly why I bought this paper, was to remind us of his broken leg. And here we are, the last piece of this little pie chart. So again, this is the Wonky pie chart free cut file from Paper Issues. Definitely check it out. There are so many great cut files in there. So I decided to back him in this orange. And I'm just using my ATG to do that. And I have a really super old product called, I already forgot what they're called. They're called Perfect Layers. I don't know if they're still available or not, but they basically have these little lips on the side, and it catches the photo, and then you have these perfect little mats. I'm addicted to fun foam, and so I used fun foam to elevate my picture. And now I'm just going through my cardstock stickers, the sticker sheet, as well as the ephemera pack, and just determining what I'm going to use. So just making some very quick selections here. So there's lots of little kitties in there and just all kinds of good stuff. I love that little paw print. It says, "Those paws." I swear to you, he has the biggest paws I have ever seen. In fact, um, we were all convinced, even the vet was convinced that he was polydactyl, meaning he had extra toes. He doesn't. He just has giant paws. I decided to go with the title of Good Kitty, and just putting this down. These chipboards did separate a little bit from the paper adhesive. So you'll notice that I do go in later and add a little bit of glue to that. My favorite glue is the Fine Line Red Top glue, also available in the shop. It's amazing. So unfortunately, I have to reposition those letters because I didn't leave enough room for the Y. I underestimated the size of that. And you'll see I'm just going to add a little bit of glue in there under some of those letters. And adding some of that glue to the back of this photo, putting that into place. And honestly, I mean, like, this layout would be good just like this. But I decided to add a little bit more embellishments. You'll notice that I do replace the top of my my glue pen because with the nozzle being so small, the glue will dry fairly quickly. So I do try to keep something in there all the time. So my go-to when I need something a little bit extra is to add these little banners. I think I've mentioned that before. So I'm just going to add this banner in there. And actually it's going to fit better up top. And then I decide that I'm going to put this little cat up on top with the little crown because this little guy has become the king of this house. He loves to sit at the top of the stairs, and one of the things that we just love about him are those ears. His ears are super wide spaced, and he looks like an airplane. Like, it's kind of funny, and he has this kind of resting bee face all the time, which is also hilarious. So you'll notice that I took my pencil and I drew a line on the cat, and that just kind of told me that I want to keep all the fun foam over onto one side, leaving the other side of the cat free of that so that he would balance perfectly on top of that photo. And then I decide that I want a little bit of embellishments down in the bottom left-hand corner. And so I'm trying to decide what to put down there and just going through those embellishments. The two embellishment packs that I have here have so much stuff. It's almost too much. I mean, I hate to complain about too much, but there is so much stuff in there. So I love that little kitty in the box. He's super cute. But I'm trying to not use up all of my gray kitties on one layout. So I love those little fold over tags at the top that I set up there. This little tag, the one with the paw prints, oh my gosh, it's so cute. I love tags. I went through a phase a while ago where I added a tag to just about every layout that I did. So I'm pretty committed to that tag and that kitty cat there. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that down. I grabbed some twine from my stash and I'm just going to tie that up there. And So my scissors are apparently not very sharp, so it took me a while to cut through that. I need to sharpen my scissors. And adding a little bit more foam to this little kitty. Um, by adding the foam, it gives your pages just a little bit of a dimension. And even though this particular layout is very simple, those little bits of dimension just add so much texture to your page and really bring it alive, honestly. So I'm getting pretty close to being finished here. I'm going to go ahead and add the date with my handy dandy date stamper that I don't know what I would do without. So I cut that that little fold over tab in half so I can use the other half for another project. I decide that I want to keep one of them down, like flat on the page, and I want to elevate the other tab. And I just thought that was a cute, fun little way to utilize those. And I love that I'm a cat person, so I'm just going to add that. And I love the pop of color that it gives up in that top corner. I guess it's not a corner, in the top center of the page. Just adds a nice little contrast with those blue clouds up there. After I had finished, I had thought, wouldn't it be great to have stitched around this? So here's my final product. And some quick little detail shots. And then finally, you can always save 20% by using my code Samara in the paper issue store. Thank you for watching.